Have you ever felt like life was pushing you down while you constantly struggled to rise? Maybe you've thought that you were born unlucky, that everything goes wrong just for you, that you're invisible to the world. But what if I told you that all of this isn't bad luck or punishment? What if, in fact, this feeling of constant struggle was a clear sign that you are one of the chosen ones, someone destined for an extraordinary life filled with divine abundance? Viktor Frankl, the man who transformed extreme pain into a profound purpose, said that whoever has a why can face any how. Imagine if your current situation, which seems so unfair and painful, was precisely the tool that God chose to forge your millionaire destiny and your elevated mission. Before we dive into this universe of self-knowledge, I would like to invite you to subscribe to the channel, like it, and activate notifications. This way, you can ensure that you are always connected to content that inspires and transforms. Let's join us. The truth is that you don't need a traditional job or depend on the approval of others to achieve the success that God has already decided for you. Your life is not an accident, nor are your difficulties definitive. On the contrary, you are part of a carefully designed divine plan so that you can be a living example of spiritual overcoming and divine manifestation. In the next few minutes, you will understand exactly how to transform your pain into a springboard for a purposeful life, aligned with an abundant mindset and a clear divine calling. Are you ready to leave invisibility behind and access the path to becoming a millionaire in all areas of your life? So take a deep breath and come with me, because your transformation begins now. You know that moment when everything seems to be falling apart, when you feel like you've lost control of your life and nothing makes sense anymore. That's when many give up, but that's exactly when the chosen ones begin to be shaped. It's easy to feel like you're broken, forgotten, rejected, or punished. But what you may not realize yet is that this pain is not a punishment, it's a summons. Heaven doesn't waste suffering. It uses fire to forge warriors of light. Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Nazi concentration camps, shows us something incredible. Even in the worst circumstances, human beings can still choose the meaning they give to their pain. And that is the secret of the chosen ones. They do not run away from pain. They look it in the face and ask, "What are you trying to teach me?" This mindset is the first step towards inner transformation, the beginning of a life with purpose. You were not made to live in a box. You were not created to just survive. You were created to impact, to heal, to inspire. The life mission of the chosen ones almost always begins in the valley, not at the top. And the deeper the valley, the greater the spiritual authority you will carry afterward. God allows you to go through this fire not to destroy you, but to refine you. You are being reprogrammed from within. How many times have you felt that something inside you was too big for the place where you are? That your thoughts, your intuition, your spirituality didn't fit in the environment where you grew up? This is not a delusion. It's a sign that there is a latent divine calling within you, waiting to be awakened. And it is in the phases of silent pain that this calling begins to echo more strongly. If you pay close attention, you will realize that the moments when you felt the weakest were precisely the ones that made you the strongest. Spiritual overcoming does not come from easy victories, but from invisible struggles. It is in these moments that the universe plants in you the seed of your extraordinary life. A life where pain is recycled into healing, where chaos becomes fuel for the mission. Want to know why you haven't arrived yet? Because you're being trained. God hides his chosen ones while he prepares them. And this hiding place that you hate so much is actually the laboratory of your active faith. A time of silence where your essence is restored, where your mind begins to align with divine manifestation. This is not the end. It is the stage before promotion. So instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" start asking, "What am I being prepared for?" This simple change of question activates a powerful belief within you. You stop being a victim and start being forged. And believe me, when this spiritual renewal is complete, you will never go back to square one. Because those who have been burned by the fire of pain carry light in their eyes. There are people who still believe that living with purpose is a privilege for the few, as if it were a luxury reserved for those who already have their lives sorted out. But the truth is just the opposite. It is the meaning of life that solves life. It is the meaning that organizes the internal chaos, that brings direction, courage, and clarity. And without it, even abundance becomes emptiness. Viktor Frankl said that we do not seek happiness, we seek meaning. And that changes everything. You can have success, status, followers, and still feel lost. Because the absence of purpose intoxicates the soul. The chosen ones know there is no point in fulfilling the external if the internal is in ruins. Finding your purpose is not vanity, it is spiritual survival. It is the spiritual key that opens invisible doors, doors of emotional healing, of fulfillment, of real abundance. When you align your life with a greater meaning, you activate a completely new energy field. You move from waiting mode to mission mode. This changes your decisions, your relationships, your habits. You start saying no more to what doesn't elevate you, and yes, more to what honors your essence. This is the beginning of inner transformation, the reconfiguration of your destiny. But how do you discover this meaning? Start by listening to the signs. What are the issues that hurt you deeply? What kind of injustice revolts you? What kind of conversation makes your eyes shine? Your purpose is always disguised in your pain and passions. Viktor Frankl said that the meaning of life is not invented, it is discovered, usually in the encounter between suffering and love. And this encounter awakens the chosen ones. If you feel like you are stuck and can't get anywhere, it's possible that you are trying to live a purpose that is not yours. And living outside of spiritual alignment is tiring. It's like rowing against the current. But when you reconnect with your divine calling, things flow more smoothly. It doesn't mean that everything will be easy, but it will be coherent. It will have direction, meaning, power. Most people live like spiritual zombies. They wake up, work, consume, and repeat. But you, who have been called, will no longer be content with this. There is something greater calling you out of this cycle. A life with purpose, where even your pain gains meaning. Where emptiness becomes a voice, and your story becomes an instrument of healing. You did not come here to repeat. You came to break limits. And maybe you don't have everything you dream of yet, but you already have everything you need to get started. Because heaven doesn't wait for you to be ready to send you. It sends you to prepare you. Your spiritual awakening begins when you understand that the search for meaning is not ego, it is a mission. It is the path back home. And when you find that path, you become a channel of blessings to the world around you. Chaos is not the end of the world. It's the beginning of a revelation. Many hide when everything falls apart, but the chosen ones understand that chaos is a stage where light shines. It's when everything seems dark that true spiritual identity begins to shine. God called you not to run away from the mess of the world, but to be light in the midst of it. And light doesn't need to shout. It just needs to exist. Viktor Frankl said that even when faced with the most brutal pain, human beings have the power to choose their attitude. This is one of the greatest expressions of spiritual authority. It is not about controlling what happens outside, but about dominating what happens inside. Spiritual awakening does not come when everything is peaceful, but when you maintain your peace even when everything is upside down. You may be surrounded by doubts, injustices, limitations, but still carry within you an unshakable faith. And this is a silent revolution, a cry for inner freedom. The chosen ones do not wait for the approval of the world. They respond to heaven. And that answer is simple: positioning. Courage to be who you are, even when no one understands. Have you ever noticed how the most difficult moments in your life brought you closer to your purpose? How certain falls brought you to your knees, just so you could remember to look up? Chaos plays this role. It is not random. It pushes you inward. It makes you access deeper dimensions of your soul. It connects you with the healing of the soul that only comes when you stop running away and start listening. The truth is that the world doesn't need more people shining for themselves. It needs people who light the way. People with extraordinary lives, not because they had it easy, but because they chose to shine even in the ruins. And this is only possible when you understand that your pain has a destiny, that your wound is a bridge, that your dark past can become a lantern for others. Being light in the chaos doesn't mean being perfect. It means being present, being real, being a channel. The chosen ones know that every battle is a reminder of their higher mission, and that every silent inner victory is a manifestation of heaven on earth. And when you align with that calling, you begin to walk with more purpose, more discernment, more courage, even if on the outside you still seem invisible. So I ask you, are you already fulfilling this calling? Or are you still waiting for the world to recognize you so you can start shining? Remember, the light that heaven lights in you does not depend on applause. It depends on surrender, on an internal decision, because the entire universe moves when a chosen one takes a stand. And maybe this is your moment. Viktor Frankl gave us one of the greatest keys in human history. Meaningless suffering is unbearable, but purposeful suffering is redemptive. It's not about romanticizing pain, but rather understanding it as a tool for spiritual growth. The chosen ones know that they are not going through all this for nothing. There is a reason behind every tear, and when that reason is found, something sacred is revealed. The emptiness that makes you sick is not caused only by the pain itself, but by the feeling that it is useless. But when you understand that your desert has a destiny, everything changes. What seemed like punishment becomes spiritual reprogramming. The soul becomes aligned. The mind begins to open to new perspectives. You begin to understand that suffering, when welcomed with faith, becomes a bridge. Frankl, amid the horror of the concentration camps, developed logotherapy, a method that teaches that finding meaning is more powerful than seeking pleasure. This is a true spiritual unlocking, an internal turning point that causes the soul to resist where logic dictates giving up. And that is why so many who are chosen seem to endure pain that others would not. They don't just survive, they transform. How many times have you looked back on your past and thought, if I had known this back then, I would have suffered differently? This retroactive awareness is a sign of inner transformation. When suffering is illuminated by understanding, it ceases to be a prison and becomes an impulse. And that is when an abundant mindset is born, one that sees purpose even in loss. The difference between getting sick and growing up often lies in how you interpret pain. Those who feel they are being punished close themselves off. Those who understand they are being molded open themselves up. And this openness is essential for emotional healing, for the rebirth of hope, for the activation of active faith. The soul needs to believe that its pain is part of something greater. It needs to trust in the invisible plane. Frankl said that even suffering can become a gift if used as fuel for a purposeful life. What about you? What have you done with your pain? Have you complained or transformed it? Have you run away or embraced it? Because the way you relate to it reveals a lot about your level of spiritual maturity. And the chosen ones are called to grow, not to run away. So take a deep breath. Look at this difficult moment with different eyes. Maybe it is not the end, but the transition to a new version of you. A stronger, more conscious version, more aligned with your life mission. Because suffering without meaning destroys, but suffering with purpose builds, heals, restores, and elevates you to places that ease would never take you. The mind is where everything begins. Your beliefs, your decisions, your worldview. But the mind, alone, is limited. It is the door, but it needs something deeper to open it, the spirit. And that is where the chosen ones stand out. They do not live by reason alone. They live by connection, by the certainty that there is a divine calling guiding their steps, even when everything seems uncertain. Viktor Frankl, even while imprisoned in concentration camps, said he was spiritually free. He understood that the greatest prison is not the walls on the outside, but the beliefs on the inside. And you, what have you been feeding your mind? Have you surrounded yourself with information that imprisons you or with truths that set you free? Spiritual awakening begins with this alignment: mind, spirit, and purpose walking together. There is no point in just thinking about prosperity if your spirit is disconnected from divine abundance. There is also no point in seeking spirituality without renewing your mind. It is this imbalance that holds back so many chosen ones. They have a calling, but they are stuck in thoughts that sabotage them. That is why the process of spiritual reprogramming is so essential. It is through this process that you clean the door and find the key. And how can you put all this into practice? Start by questioning your repetitive thoughts. Write, observe, and investigate. Read books that expand your consciousness. A good place to start might be Man's Search for Meaning by Frankl or The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. Meditate, pray, be silent, because often the answer you seek is already within you. It's just buried by mental noise. When your mind is at peace, your spirit flourishes. And when your spirit flourishes, your purpose reveals itself more clearly. This doesn't happen in a magical instant. It happens when you decide, every day, to take small steps toward your truth. When you stop trying to please the world and start listening to heaven. When you realize that living on autopilot is a waste of your higher mission. Healing your soul begins when you stop seeing yourself as a victim of life and start seeing yourself as a spiritual protagonist. As someone who was called not to adapt to the system, but to be a channel of transformation. A channel of blessings, capable of bringing light where there is darkness. But this is only possible when mind, spirit, and purpose are in spiritual alignment. So take a deep breath. Look inside. Feel that call that insists on knocking on your inner door. You are not lost. You were just trying to open the right door with the wrong key. But now you know, the mind needs to be renewed, the spirit needs to be activated, and the path needs to be walked with awareness. This is the path of the chosen ones, and it starts today, right where you are. Doubt is like fog. It doesn't stop you from walking, but it makes you walk slower. It blurs your vision, consumes energy, steals opportunities. And do you know when it is strongest? When you still don't understand who you are. But the day a chosen one assumes his or her identity, doubt begins to lose its power. Not because everything has become clear, but because the soul has awakened and now walks with active faith. Viktor Frankl said that a man can endure anything as long as he knows why. When you discover that you have been spiritually separated, that there is a specific divine calling upon your life, uncertainties become just background noise. You stop asking permission to be who you were born to be, because those who have clarity of purpose have authority, and those who have authority walk without applause. Many people are stuck in insecurity, waiting for a sign, a validation, and approval from outside. But the chosen ones understand that the most important decision doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. Certainty comes when you say, I accept who I am. I accept my mission. I accept the process. And that's not arrogance. It's spiritual alignment. It's the point where doubt meets its wall. Have you ever noticed that the biggest obstacles in your life didn't come from real obstacles, but from powerful and limiting beliefs? Like, am I good enough? Is this for me? What if I fail? These questions dissolve when you understand. It wasn't luck, it was selection. You are here because heaven wanted you. That in itself is already a sign that something great is being built. Doubt screams, but conviction whispers. And the chosen ones learn to hear the whisper of heaven even in the midst of the noise of the world. They don't wait to be ready. They rise up even when they are afraid, even when they are trembling, because they know that spiritual conviction is not the absence of fear, it is action in spite of it. And it is this attitude that activates the divine manifestation in their lives. Every step you take toward your purpose, even if imperfect, weakens doubt. It strengthens your faith. It strengthens your identity. It strengthens your presence in the world. This is breaking through internal limits. It is assuming the position that is already yours on the spiritual plane. Because the universe recognizes those who take a stand with truth and responds with open doors, connections, and real abundance. So, are you going to keep waiting for a bigger sign? Or are you going to accept that doubt itself was already the sign? It only appeared because you are too close to something big. And now is the time to choose. Between remaining paralyzed or walking like someone who already understands that they have been chosen for a higher mission. When this realization sinks in, fear tries, but it no longer rules. There are people who look at your strength, your resilience, your intuition, and call it luck. They have no idea what you have faced in silence. They have no idea how many dark nights of the soul you have gone through without anyone seeing. But the chosen ones know, it was not luck, it was selection. It was not chance, it was purpose. From an early age, something inside you was already different. And this difference is exactly the seal of the divine calling. Viktor Frankl survived hell, not by luck, but by mission. He did not leave the concentration camps unharmed. He left transformed. And it was this transmuted pain that gave rise to his greatest contribution to the world. The same is true of the chosen ones. The pain you experienced was not in vain. It did not come to destroy you, but to prepare you. Because those who carry purpose carry a cross, and then a crown. Since childhood, you have noticed, there is something in me that doesn't fit. And this was not rejection. It was separation. It was the universe preserving you, hiding you, polishing you. The paths that were closed, protection. The friendships that were broken, redirection. The doors that didn't open? Alignment. Nothing was a coincidence. Everything was spiritual architecture. To be chosen is to be trained in silence. It is to carry a potential that the world has not yet recognized, but that heaven has already validated. It is to be a channel of a divine abundance that first needs to be activated from within, by active faith, by surrender, by the understanding that you are not here to fit in. You are here to awaken, to guide, to ignite. And when this awareness comes, you stop begging for acceptance. You stop asking for permission to be who you are. You start living with spiritual authority, even if no one understands. Because when you recognize that you were set apart from the beginning, you start honoring your history, your sensitivity, your intensity, your flaws. Everything gets a new reading. You start seeing value where before you only saw pain. The chosen ones are not the most popular. They are the most prepared. They are not the most applauded. They are the most profound, because they were forged in the invisible. That is why the divine manifestation takes time, but when it comes with force. It is like a sprout that grew in the darkness of the earth and, suddenly, burst through the soil with vitality. Everything that was being cultivated in silence begins to flourish. So when someone tells you that you were lucky, smile. But know inside that you had courage. Courage to continue when no one was watching. Courage to persist even without signs. Courage to stay firm in the process. Because those who were separated from the beginning carry an eternal seal, that their life mission does not depend on luck, but on a response. And your time to respond has come. The chosen ones often make the mistake of praying like beggars, when in fact they have been called to rule as children. They are constantly asking for what heaven has already released. And do you know what happens? The energy of scarcity remains, not for lack of blessing, but for lack of spiritual posture. When you understand that the inheritance is already yours, you stop begging and begin to manifest with active faith. Viktor Frankl said that the meaning of life is to find something greater than yourself and surrender to it. When you surrender to your divine calling, you activate a spiritual code within you that completely changes your frequency. You move from I need mode to I trust mode. And when you trust, you start to act differently, speak differently, think differently, vibrate differently, and that vibration attracts. True abundance does not manifest only to those who desire it. It manifests to those who believe and take a stand. And if you are still living as if you are unworthy of a prosperous life, it is time to review your powerful beliefs. Because heaven has already given you authority. What is lacking is not blessing, it is conviction. The chosen ones do not live like beggars. They live as channels of blessings that flow with purpose. How can you change this attitude? Start by asking yourself, if I knew that everything was already mine, how would I act today? Would you speak more confidently? Would you take bolder steps? Would you free yourself from relationships that are holding you back? This simple exercise activates your abundant mindset. Because when your mind imagines a new reality, it begins to attract experiences that are compatible with that vision. You no longer need to ask for permission to live your extraordinary life. Heaven has already authorized you. It has already separated you. It has already anointed you. Doubt only remains when you do not assume your identity. But when you do, life responds. The right people appear. Opportunities open. Doors move. And not by magic, but by spiritual alignment, a direct consequence of your awakening. Remember, true faith is that which acts as if it has already received, even without seeing anything yet. This is what we call an invisible miracle. It is living as if one trusts in the invisible and therefore attracts the impossible. The chosen ones are experts in this. They live with the eyes of their soul open, while the world still walks blindly. And that is why they become leaders of transformation. So, stop asking out of fear now. Start giving thanks with conviction. Stand up as one who already carries the answer. Speak as one who already has it. Walk as one who has already received it. Because you are no longer someone waiting for a chance. You are someone manifesting what is already yours by spiritual right. This is the final key, the final unlock. And those who live like this will never live small again. You have come this far, and if something inside you has been touched, it is not by chance. It is a calling. Perhaps this message has reminded you of something you have always known but had forgotten. You are one of the chosen ones. And this changes everything. It changes the way you see pain, time, processes. It changes your relationship with the invisible. Because those who understand that they were separated from the beginning never again walk as if they were lost. From now on, the question remains, what are you going to do with all this? Are you going to let this revelation get lost in the flow of everyday life? Or are you going to start, today, acting like someone who understands their elevated mission? Perhaps the missing key is already in your hands, and you just need to have the courage to use it. Remember, faith without action is theory. Faith with action is manifestation. If you feel that this word spoke to your soul, then the change has already begun. But it will only be completed with your daily decision to break limits, to align mind and spirit, to live with intentionality. And for this, you are not alone. We are here building a community of awakened people, thirsty for purpose, ready to activate their spiritual authority and live a life with meaning. So reflect. What habits do you need to give up to take your place? What thoughts do you need to reprogram to unlock your divine abundance? What decisions do you need to make today as someone who has already received? If this message spoke to your soul, comment below with the word millionaire. That way, I know you've heard the call and that you're ready for the next step. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like it, and activate notifications. This way, you continue to receive content that strengthens your journey of spiritual transformation.